If you want to see your church grow, you need to nail your church visitor follow-up process. And the most important part of that is the communication that you have with a first-time visitor. Well, I just took a role at a new church, and part of my assignment is to rebuild our church visitor follow-up sequence. And I want to give you the exact sequence that I have used before and will use again that is tried and true to help more church visitors get connected. Let's do this. Well, hey guys, I'm Thomas Costello here from Reach-Right. We put out new content like this each and every week, and if this content helps you, I bet a lot of our other content will help you as well. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the like button while you're at it. It would mean a lot to me. Now, one of the things that I've uncovered helping churches over the last 17 years is that while a lot of churches feel pretty confident in the number of visitors that come through their doors, the vast majority of churches, in my experience, find that they do not have a solid visitor follow-up process, and to me, this really is tragic. You see, when we get new visitors that come into the doors of our church, these are truly gifts from the Lord, and it's important that we treat each person that walks through our doors as if they are a gift. And I believe part of that is really getting serious about how we follow up with our visitors in an attempt to help them get connected. I recently undertook the project of rebuilding my church's visitor follow-up sequence. Now, we're just implementing it here at my current church, but I have the benefit of having used this exact system at my last church, and I know that we have about a 25% connection rate of everybody that comes into our church. The average church has about a 10 to 15% retention rate. What that means is about 10 to 15% of the visitors that walk through the doors will wind up becoming fully committed members of the church. My church, we saw about 25% of those people that walk through our doors turn into fully committed members. And we didn't just get there overnight. It took a lot of tweaking and changing and playing with our system in order to finally get it dialed in to a way that we felt it was at its most effective. And in this video, I'm not going to be able to give you a full breakdown of our entire assimilation process. In fact, I've already made a complete video that will give you some strategy tips. I'll leave a link for that down in the description and up in the cards here. But in this video, I just want to give you a breakdown of the communication that we're using. I find that so many churches get hung up on what do I say and how do I follow up with my first-time visitors. When someone puts in a visitor card or sends that introductory connection text, how do we communicate with those people to give ourselves the highest likelihood of them getting connected with our church? And while this will never replace great worship and good Bible teaching, I think communicating well is such an important part of helping people make that initial connection. So let me dig into the 6-step process. It's a total of 6 pieces of communication over the 8 days after someone's first visit to our church that I use and I believe would be effective for your church as well. One of the things that I hear so often from churches is, well, who should do this? You know, if we're going to be sending out 6 different pieces of communication, that's a lot for the average lead pastor of a church to tackle. There are a few places where I think it's important that you as the lead pastor would jump in and actually be the one doing the communication, but for the most part, I think it's good for someone on your team to help you with this. And I'll break down a little bit of where you need to jump in as we get into this. Here are the 6 pieces of communication that need to be sent out in the 8 days following the first visit of a visitor at your church. And it all starts on that first day. I can't stress this enough. It is so important that you get some communication out to a visitor on the day that they showed up. I recommend that this be a text, and here's the exact text that we use. Hey John, Pastor Thomas here from Faith Church. I just wanted to say thanks for visiting today. How can I be praying for you this week? And that's it. It's that simple of a text. It's really important that you use your first name and their first name because it really helps to foster a connection. And you want to send this text from a number that feels like a personal number if possible. And now I understand you maybe don't want every single person that visits your church to have access to the senior pastor's cell number, and that totally makes sense, but should be from a number that feels like it's from a real person. One of the themes you'll find in this whole process is you want it to feel as informal and casual as possible. That's why we always use first names just to start to build a real relationship. Text them the same way you would a friend. The idea with this text is that you would hopefully get a response back. Maybe they'll just say, hey, we're all good here, and that's fine, but to get some kind of back and forth communication is always a win, and it helps people make that first step and build connection that way. If they do respond, make sure you have someone there, whether it's you or someone on your team, ready to help respond and kind of keep the conversation going. A lot of times people will respond with some kind of a prayer request in my experience, and this is a great way for you to build connection with them. As for when you send this, I would recommend you don't do it immediately after church, but maybe wait a few hours, maybe on Sunday afternoon if you have a Sunday morning service. This way it's really organic and feels like it's coming from your heart as the leader of the church. But I can't stress enough how important it is that it does go out on that Sunday. Following up with people when it's fresh in their mind and they just left service, it is really a powerful tool. The next day, we send out the following email. Here's what it says. Subject line, "Thank you for joining us. What did you think?" Hey John, this is Thomas, lead pastor at Hope Church. It was so great to have you at church yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed your time and got to meet some of our church family. I know we didn't get much time to chat, but I hope we can have you back sometime soon and get a chance to talk a little more. So as you probably guessed, we're in a series on, insert your series topic here, over the next several weeks. It is a great time to jump in at Faith Church. I'll be praying for you this week. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Blessings, and then you just include your email signature. And then we have a PS. We have a leaders meeting later this week to evaluate our Sunday service so that we can try and make the experience better for you and everyone who attends Faith Church. Something that you could do for me that would really help me out is complete a short survey. It shouldn't take more than a minute, and then provide the survey link. You'll notice that it's a little bit longer, and it actually is invitational to invite them to come back to another service and to make a connection with you when they do come back to service, hopefully the following week. And you'll notice in the PS, I mentioned a survey. The goal of this survey is not actually to get feedback on what they liked or especially what they didn't like about your church service. This is not the time to introduce any kind of negative feedback into the loop here. You want to do your best to have this survey focus on what they liked the most. How did you hear about the church? What did you notice first? How can we be praying for you? Some of those kinds of questions are in there. And in my view, it's best to help them reinforce the things that they liked most about their time with you at your church. We've tested these surveys a few different ways, and we find that we have a much higher connection rate when we encourage people to talk about what they liked as opposed to what they didn't like about their first time with us. So typically you're sending that email on the Monday right after their first visit, and on that same day, you're going to start your third piece of communication. And this one, I think, takes the cake and is probably the most important piece of this entire process. I'm talking about a handwritten card. Now, again, I encourage you to get someone to help you with this. It's important probably that you sign your name on it, but having someone help you address it and actually write the content of the card, I think that would be totally fine to do. And in the card, you're just going to say this. Hey, John, I just wanted to say thanks again for visiting on Sunday. I'm praying for you this week, and I hope we have a chance to get to know each other better soon. God bless, Thomas. And that's it on this card. Pop it in the mail with a stamp, and it'll get there on Wednesday or Thursday, and it'll be something that, again, reminds this person of their Sunday experience and what's going on at your church. Keeping yourself top of mind is what's so important in this process. From there, you actually have a few days off. The next piece of communication we recommend is going to happen 4 days after their visit, or typically on a Thursday. In this communication, it's going to be an email, and the primary function of this email is to invite them to come back to this week's service. Here's how I'd write it. Subject line, I'm saving a spot for you this Sunday. Hey John, I hope your week has been great so far. I just wanted to take a second to invite you to church again this weekend. It's not that you need an invitation or anything. I just wanted you to know that I hope to see you there. I'll be looking for you, and if I don't see you first, please come and find me. I'd love a chance to connect. Hope to see you there on Sunday at 9 a.m. Blessings, Thomas. That's simple. And I think the beautiful thing about this email is it puts a little bit of expectation that you as the pastor are going to be keeping an eye out for this person on Sunday. It's not that we want to pressure them into coming back, but when someone knows that someone's looking for them, it just ups the likelihood that they'll make that leap. And even if they feel like they're tired, that they'll maybe get over the hump and show up on a Sunday morning again. So we found this message to be really effective and a great one to send on Thursdays. Hey, now I know we're talking a lot about getting visitors connected, but maybe your challenge is getting more visitors in the door. Well, you are absolutely in luck. We're offering a totally free 100-point church marketing strategy review. It will cost you nothing to do this. And in it, we're going to take a deep dive into what your church is doing right now when it comes to marketing, your web presence, how you appear on search engines, what you look like on social media. We'll give you an assessment, and then we'll give you some marching orders in a PDF sent to your inbox that tells you exactly what we would do do to help your church do better at marketing and reaching more people in your community. I'm leaving a link to that down in the description below, so make sure you check that out and take advantage of that free offer. The fifth message that we send, typically this one goes out on Saturday or 6 days after their first visit, is a final text message in the sequence. And this text message is just really a reminder inviting them once again for a final time to come out to the service the next Sunday. If we can get someone to come out to back-to-back Sundays, the odds of them getting connected really start to skyrocket. Here's what the message says. Hey John, tomorrow's Sunday, exclamation point. I hope to see you again at church. Let's make a point to connect if you're able to make it. Talk soon. And that's it. Just a simple message, again, that comes from the pastor will go a long way. Notice I don't sign off and say Pastor Thomas or anything like that here. They should already know if we're texting from the same number because it'll come up in that same conversation that it was from me last time. The idea here is that if they can't come, there's a high likelihood that they'll respond and say something like, oh, unfortunately, I can't make it. But again, that's another chance for you to start conversation and build on the opportunity that maybe they'll be able to come the following week. And the final piece of communication is actually sent 8 days after their first visit, or hopefully the day after their second visit. It'll be sent on a Monday. And here's what it would say. It's an email, and the subject line is join me for growth track, or whatever you call your assimilation process or membership class, on this date. Hey John, I hope your week is off to a great start. One question most people have at Faith Church is, how do I get connected? Well, I wanted to take a second and personally invite you to Growth Track. It's the place where anyone who is new to our church or new to faith can learn all the ins and outs of why we exist as a church and how you can grow in your faith. It's the next right step for anyone who's looking to make a connection. We have one coming up on insert the date and time, and I'll be there and I would love for you to join me. We have a sign-up form and have all the details laid out here. You provide a link to the sign-up page. If you have any questions before you get signed up, please let me know. Blessings, Thomas. And it's that simple. You'll get responses to this quite a bit, but it's so important that your process ends with a strong invitation to what that person's next step is. Notice again the personal tone of this email, that it's designed to invite someone not just in a cold way, but in a personal way, that I will be looking for you, that I will be there as the pastor of the church. And when someone hears an invitation that's coming from the pastor and that he will actually be there as well, you have a much higher likelihood of people getting connected. But that's it. These 6 messages over the first 8 days are pretty tried and true for us and a great way for you to increase your retention rate. As I mentioned, I'm making all of these available free for download, no cost to you whatsoever. You can use these, you can steal them exactly as you are. I recommend you change your name out and the name of your church. But other than that, I hope that you'll use them. I hope they'll work for your church as well. And if you're looking for some resources on how to do a better job with your overall assimilation process, like I said before, I have a great video for you. It's right here. You need to check this one out to build out your system.